Hi, my name is Annie Lambert, Compliance Program Manager at Wolters Kluwer Health, supporting our Simplify Plus software solutions. Well, first, we have to acknowledge that this information and this conversation really reflects the current regulatory environment because this is a very dynamic space. Things are moving, continues to evolve with FDA leadership changes and new headlines every single day. So, what we know now is that the FDA's recent actions really reinforce the restrictions on 503B compounding pharmacies, limiting them to the drugs that are on the approved bulks and shortages list. By intentionally excluding GLP-1s from that 503B bulks list, regulators are signaling that for further narrowing the scope of widespread compounding of these agents. Now, 503A pharmacies can still compound GLP-1s, but they are also under increased FDA scrutiny. The FDA has cautioned telehealth companies against marketing compounded GLP-1s, really emphasizing that compounding should address individual patient needs when approved medications are unavailable. So, this is really a reaffirmation, I think, of compounding's intended role, not necessarily a crackdown, just sort of a clarification. And as the FDA increases their regulatory scrutiny and drug supply stabilizes, compounded medications will remain crucial for addressing patient needs, but these evolving regulations are going to prompt closer evaluation for how these needs are really determined, emphasizing the importance of patient safety and compliance within pharmacy practice. This is a great point that pharmacists are really at the intersection of a lot of these conversations, and compounded GLP-1 medications, such as those that were used during the shortages of semaglutide and tirzepatide, they really did provide and continue to provide an important access point for patients when that supply was limited. And many people have continued these therapies, appreciating the benefits that they've experienced. But they might also be feeling a little anxious about potential changes in regulations or any headlines that they might be seeing that could impact their treatment options. So pharmacists can really help both current and new patients by kind of demonstrating their understanding of this regulatory spectrum here and maintaining the focus on strong systems for quality, safety, and compliance. That really is going to help keep the conversation focused on patient safety and supporting those positive patient outcomes. I think pharmacists always have a role in helping guide patients between the right options for cost, safety, compliance. So they can also help patients explore alternatives to therapy or other programs like direct to consumer access, manufacturer assistance programs, while also helping them understand and validate the legitimate sources of compounded medications, and again keeping that focus on safety. These are drugs that are being injected into your body. You really want to make sure that you know where they're coming from and that they're safe. So pharmacists are among the most trusted professions in the healthcare space, let alone all the professions. And this is also, extends to the rising interest in GLP-1 therapies. And with so much information out there, pharmacists can be a really great source of access and information to help remind patients what is important to look at in these different types of therapies and access points. So it's really important to remind patients to verify the sources of information that they're getting it from. There's all sorts of places, social media, uh, commercials on TV, all of those things. So validate those sources. Also talk to their clinician, even if their clinician is not the one being prescribing the therapy. They may have some thoughts to offer, and then really best to stick with a licensed pharmacy. There are some resources out there to validate the pharmacy's license in your state. And that's definitely important when you're looking at telehealth or online options. Some of those are a little harder to decipher, but it's always okay to ask, where is my medication coming from? And that it's licensed in your state. It's also important for patients to know kind of the difference between compounded therapies and FDA approved products. And pharmacists really can have a role in helping highlight those differences, emphasize, the oversight is important, the potential risks, and again, really focus on that patient safety so that patients can know what they're looking for and have some choice in that. overall, as GLP interest grows, it's going to continue to grow. There's more agents coming out. Pharmacists, I think, can continue to be the bridge, being that trusted resource and for guidance, and also help navigate to that safe access.